Hi, folks. Mike Schramke with Larry Stovesand Equipment. I got a question on my last YouTube video. Well, let me read it. At James 7 dots, a few non-tractor related questions. Was Larry Stovesand a real person? Did you buy the dealership from him? Are you a Tennessee native or did you move there? I have a few friends in Tennessee and you don't talk like them. Thank you for the question, James. I really usually don't talk about, myself or whatever. And, when you really want to know, then fine, I'll tell you. And if those of you that are watching that are like, oh yeah, I don't want to watch a biography, by all means, just skip past it. But not until you subscribe. Larry Stovesand is my very, very good friend and mentor. He's a car guy, and for most of my life, up until 9 years ago, I too was a car guy. We're both from St. Louis, Missouri. And when I was a kid in high school, I worked at a dealership part-time, washing cars and doing whatever, that he worked at and my mom worked at. It was called Suburban Ford in Imperial, Missouri. So my mom worked there, Larry worked there, and I worked there on and off summers and whatever, part-time. That would have been the late 70s, and that was also the time of the oil embargo and 21% interest rates and whatever. The store struggled and then went out of business. So my mom went to another dealership. Larry went to Dave Sinclair Ford, which at the time, if it wasn't the biggest dealership in the country, it was one or two. It was a huge store. He went there to sell and then eventually manage. And I went on with, finishing high school. And then I just got into the car business selling cars right after high school. And that was the last time I worked with him for decades. Because in 1983, he got a call from Ford Motor Company, and Ford Motor Company had a struggling dealership in Paducah, Kentucky. And they said, we will help you become the dealer and help you own this store if you can get it running. So Larry packed his family and moved to Paducah, Kentucky, and took over Paducah Ford, which I remember the original building, and it was built in the 20s as a car dealership, as a Ford dealership. It was old and undersized. Interesting thing, sidebar, that store also sold Ford tractors back when Ford actually made tractors, which is cool. Well, after a few years, my mom and Larry, who've still been friends all this time, they talk on and off. And Larry said, you ought to move to Paducah. I really love it down here, and I would like to have you work here as my comptroller, and kind of join up and make the place run good. So my mom moved down there, which was brave of her 30 something years ago. She has been in Paducah ever since, and she is alive and kicking at age 87, still works there. And so moving on a little bit, they moved into a beautiful facility eventually that they're still in now. As far as, and I'll take a moment here and say, no, I'm not from Tennessee. As I just said, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. But I'd like to point out one thing, and that is Missouri had a star on the Stars and Bars during the War of Northern Aggression. So I'm not like a Yankee or anything, God forbid. I'm not a Yankee. I'm from Missouri, and Missouri was kind of Southern, had a star, like I said. But now I'm all Southern. I love Nashville. So moving on. Years later, Larry got a chance, the same kind of deal. Ford needed somebody to run a place well in Nashville, Tennessee, a Lincoln Mercury dealership. And he called me and said, you want to be the general manager here? Because I had been in the car business this whole time. And by now I was managing different dealerships and whatever. And I talked to my wife, and off we went to Nashville, Tennessee, and ran that store. That would have been in 2005-ish type thing. The dealership did great, and we sold a bunch of Lincoln Mercurys. Then the economy tanked. That was the time when interest rates were up again, ridiculous, and mortgage crisis and all that stuff was all happening at the same time. And Ford Motor Company then said that they had eliminated Mercury, so trying to do a standalone Lincoln dealership at the time was almost impossible. So it broke his heart, but he sold the place. It was fine. We helped get everybody jobs. I got a job as a general manager at a local Ford dealership, and that guy bought a Mahindra tractor for his farm. The dealer that I was working for at the time, being the general manager, and he liked it, so he opened a Mahindra franchise right down the street from the Ford dealership. And I said, "Man, that looks fun. I'd like to run that." And he said, "You don't know anything about tractors," which was absolutely true. If I'd ever been on a tractor, I don't remember it. And I said, "Well, that doesn't matter." I said, "I'm enthusiastic and I can sell, and it sounds like fun." So he did. He let me do it. And I did like it. And we did sell a bunch of Mahindras. And, you watch my videos, that's not anywhere my favorite machine, but it was fun selling. About that time, Larry had accumulated a Mazda franchise, a Buick GMC franchise, and I started noticing coyotes. Nashville didn't have a coyote dealership. There wasn't a coyote dealership anywhere around here. But I started hearing about them, and I started investigating the brand and the company. And I drove up to Paducah, and I went to my old friend, and I said, "We need to sell coyote tractors. You have a bunch of money. I don't have any money, but I have enthusiasm, and I can sell." And he said, "Coyote? Never heard of them." I said, "Exactly, right. And 15 years ago, you never heard of Hyundai." And he goes, "Well, yeah, that's true." So we did it. We started Lse Nashville Equipment in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. At different, there are 3 owners at different levels: Larry, me, and my mom. She chipped in a dollar or two too, and we have done well. Within about 4 years, we were the largest coyote dealership, and have stayed there. And have we sell a bunch of coyotes, and now we sell a bunch of TYMs as well. And since then, Larry has bought a Kia dealership in Carbondale, Illinois. And he's still my very good friend and my mentor, and I owe everything in the world to him. So let's see if I answered all these. Is Larry a real person? I'll let him tell you himself.
Hi, folks. I'm Larry, and I do exist.
Did you buy the dealership from him? A lot of it. Are you a Tennessee native? No, but a state that borders Tennessee, Missouri. And I did move here, and I don't talk like them. I can. I know the proper usage of all y'all. I know that moon pies are an actual meal. Pecan pies are the South's greatest contribution to the culinary arts. And I eat the heck out of Nashville hot chicken. I'm all Tennessee now. So I hope that answers your question. James, or at James 7 dots. So thank you.